Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. The 2026 World Cup, jointly hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada, will feature a record 48 teams. And soon, President Trump will meet the FIFA World Cup 2026 task force at the White House. We're going to bring it to you live. President Trump is changing direction on the Epstein records, telling Republicans to vote for their release as lawmakers prepare for a high-profile showdown. The Supreme Court today will look at an immigration policy in place during Trump's first administration. The policy was since canceled under Biden and has yet to resume. President Trump rolled back tariffs on more than 200 food products. What will be the impact of this? We discussed with an economist. A Trump-Mamdani meeting could be in the works as the pair signal a willingness to get things done for New York. And Trump defends Tucker Carlson over a recent interview. The FAA has ended its shutdown, triggering flight reductions, what officials are saying as airports slowly get back to normal.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. President Trump is shifting his position on the push to release files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The president is now urging Republicans to vote in favor of the resolution when it reaches the House floor this week. Trump previously opposed the Democrat-led petition discharge. It gained enough signatures after Congresswoman Aldilita Grijalva of Arizona was sworn in, triggering a vote on releasing the documents. Several Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Thomas Massie, and Lauren Robert, have signed on. Others, such as Congressman Don Bacon, say they will support the measure. House Speaker Mike Johnson has signaled that the vote will proceed. Trump says Republicans have nothing to hide. He also directed the Justice Department to investigate Epstein's ties to former President Bill Clinton and other public figures. An update on the case against former FBI Director James Comey. A federal judge has ordered the Justice Department to turn over documents from the grand jury indictment. In his ruling, Judge William Fitzpatrick says the department engaged in a disturbing pattern of investigative missteps when it secured an indictment against the former FBI chief. He says the so-called missteps could potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding, and he's asked the DOJ to provide all grand jury documents to Comey's defense team. Comey is also challenging the case against him by claiming Lindsay Halligan, the prosecutor who brought those indictments against him, was not properly appointed. A hearing regarding whether to dismiss the case is scheduled for Wednesday. NTD has reached out to the Justice Department for a response. The BBC says it's determined to fight any legal action filed by President Trump. Trump said he was likely to sue the British broadcaster this week for splicing together excerpts of his January 6, 2021 speech when the Capitol was breached. Trump said he would sue for up to $5 billion. BBC Chair Samir Shah apologized to Trump in a letter last week, and today Shah warned staff in an email about the possibility of legal action, but also maintained that the BBC's position has not changed, that there is no basis for a defamation case and is determined to fight. Thanksgiving is in 10 days, and travelers already have a reason to be thankful. The FAA this morning ended its flight reduction order, allowing normal air traffic to resume. Here's more.
I think we're going to have a smooth, hopefully, Thanksgiving travel season.
Airlines are resuming their normal schedules in the U.S. today. The FAA says it's lifting flight restrictions that affected 40 major airports during the government shutdown. A joint statement from that agency and the Transportation Secretary cites, quote, safety trends and the steady decline of staffing trigger events in air traffic control facilities.
It does appear that air traffic controllers are working. The call-outs are minimal, and they're all getting bonuses now if they came to work. So I think the morale there is up, as well as the TSA.
Union leaders say it was hard for air traffic controllers to work full-time without pay during the shutdown.
The stresses, the pressure, the fatigue is setting in. Air traffic controllers are texting, I don't even have enough money to put gas in my car to come to work.
The news might be a relief for people flying over Thanksgiving weekend. That's the busiest air travel period of the year, according to TSA data. Experts say passengers should still check airline apps for delays or cancellations, but for more typical reasons.
I think the things we should be looking out for are weather-related incidents that could kind of throw the system out of whack or outages. But overall, I think things are looking good.
This year, roads and airports during the Thanksgiving holiday period are expected to be busier than ever. AAA predicts nearly 82 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home during the period that runs from the Tuesday before Thanksgiving to Monday, December 1st. That's 1.6 million more travelers compared to last Thanksgiving, and a new record. AAA projects the majority of people, at least 73 million, will travel by car. 6 million U.S. travelers are expected to take domestic flights over the Thanksgiving holiday period, a slight increase from last year. Florida is the most popular domestic destination because of its weather, theme parks, and cruise ports. SNAP benefits are now operating under updated federal rules. This follows a delay caused by the recent government shutdown. Beneficiaries must meet new work and citizenship requirements to continue receiving food assistance. Eligibility is now limited to U.S. citizens, nationals, lawful permanent residents, Cuban and Haitian entrants, and citizens from the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, and Palau. Refugees, individuals granted asylum, certain Afghan and Ukrainian nationals, and others who were previously eligible no longer qualify. The law also expands work requirements. Able-bodied adults without dependents must work, volunteer, or take part in training for at least 20 hours a week or 80 hours a month to maintain benefits. President Trump is pushing to let his tariffs directly benefit Americans with $2,000 rebate checks. Lawmakers may need to pass a new law to make it possible. NTD's Melina Weisskopf reports.
President Trump is eyeing ways to allow Americans to directly feel the benefits of his tariffs. He aims to pave the way for sending $2,000 checks to middle and low-income families sometime next year.
It's a lot of money, but we've taken in a lot of money from tariffs. The tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now we're going to do a dividend, and we're also going to be reducing debt.
The idea would need approval from Congress to take effect. Some conservative Republicans expressing openness to the idea.
Being able to show the results to the American people, allowing them to keep more of their hard-earned money, I certainly hope that that's something that Congress takes a look at. And definitely,
others have expressed skepticism. When asked in a radio interview, House Speaker Mike Johnson said the federal debt should be paid down first. The White House's Economic Council director said the math works.
If you look at how much tariff revenue has been coming in, then there would actually be enough room to cover those checks and not go into the rest of the budget. Yeah.
Senator Josh Hawley previously introduced a bill to give $600 tariff rebates to Americans and their dependent children. The idea comes as the Supreme Court is weighing a lawsuit that challenges Trump's authority to impose tariffs. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said there have been mixed signals in the job market and that the labor market could be slowing down, but he's also seeing some positive signs, speaking on CNBC.
Purchasing power has gone up. And so real wages, that's W divided by P for our technical people in the audience, have gone up by about $1,200 this year. So the way to think about it is that we've dug a $3,000 hole because of Biden policies, and we've gained $1,200 on the way out already, which should give you a great deal of hope for the future that the wage increases that we're seeing will continue, and even if inflation stays positive, make it so that people feel way better when they go to the grocery store and to buy a car.
Economists say a weakening labor market could prompt the Federal Reserve to gain lower interest rates again by 25 points next month. Hassett said people are incorrectly blaming President Trump for the current inflation that was inherited from the Biden administration. He says the Trump administration hasn't totally fixed it yet, but that many different measures are already underway. Hassett also said that higher purchasing power will make things more affordable despite lingering higher prices. From clearing the huge backlog of shutdown-delayed U.S. data to new inflation data out of Japan and Europe, these are the stories to watch for in business and finance this week.
U.S. government workers begin the task of shoveling out the backlog of data not released during the 43-day shutdown. Traders could get the September numbers in the coming days. Private data that has been published has suggested the labor market continues to weaken. That supports the case for a December Federal Reserve rate cut. Officials are warning, though, that some data may have been lost forever. NVIDIA's quarterly report on Wednesday will be a critical test for the AI trade. The semiconductor giant became the world's first $5 trillion company last month. Its valuation has edged down a bit since then, but it still has enough clout to easily sway markets on its own. The AI bellwether's forecasts and the broader industry perspective will have ramifications for the wider tech ecosystem. It is going to either ease or feed those nagging investor concerns that this is already the next big bubble. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is urging the Bank of Japan to go slow on raising rates, while new Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama has argued that inflation still hasn't sustainably hit the BOJ's 2% target. The bank still looks primed for a hike in December, although Governor Kazuo Ueda has been cautious about pulling the trigger. Consumer price data due on Friday should offer clues. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde says it is in a good place, with markets pricing in no interest rate moves at all next year. The week brings a raft of October inflation numbers for both individual countries and the Eurozone as a whole. Core consumer inflation has stayed around the ECB's 2% target for most of the year. But if the euro's rise starts to drag it lower at any point, Frankfurt would have room to cut again.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman will visit the White House tomorrow for talks with President Trump. The pair will discuss energy, defense, tech, and potentially nuclear energy. The president seeks to cash in on a $600 billion investment pledge from the Saudis made during Trump's visit to the Middle East earlier this year. The Supreme Court today will look at an immigration policy in place during Trump's first administration. The policy was since canceled under Biden and has yet to resume. We have more news after this break.
Don't wait. Call now to find out about our Medicare plan.
Why do we have to sit through so many Medicare commercials this time of year? It's endless.
Good question, Edith. I'm glad you asked. We see so many commercials this time of year because it's the only time, other than special circumstances, when Medicare recipients can change their plan for Part C. Original Medicare only covers Parts A and B, but a Medicare Advantage plan has additional benefits that Original Medicare doesn't offer.
So now's the time to fill those spaces?
That's right, Archie. And every year, there are changes to what benefits you may receive from your Part C plan. Call right now to find out what plan best suits your needs.
It's easy, easy, don't delay. Pick up the phone and call today.
Call now for your free Medicare review.
1-833-469-1754. 1-833-469-1754.
You may now return to your regularly scheduled programming.
If joint pain from aging is slowing you down, Omega XL can help you get back in the saddle, just like it did for John Walsh.
Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. Got to be really fit to ride these horses. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL, and look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years.
I'm Reve Walsh. I'm John Walsh's wife. I ride fox hunters, and sometimes I'm in the saddle for 3-5 hours at a time. A lot of work out here.
I wouldn't have been able to do this. Muck a stall, throw hay, do all the things that needs to be done on a ranch a couple years ago. But Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great.
Once you try it, you don't want to be without it. It makes a huge difference.
It does. Take it every single day, and you know, there's a benefit. It's made you a lot nicer to me.
If you've been living with pain, it's time to get this special offer, the Omega XL, the joint health supplement that millions have trusted for more than 20 years. Omega XL, it's sourced from the green-lipped mussel, exclusively found in the pristine waters of New Zealand, some of the cleanest waters on Earth. Omega XL, it's natural, drug-free, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research that show it really works. Try Omega XL today. Pick up your phone and call the number at the bottom of your screen right now for a special offer. Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $100. But call today and you pay only $39.95. That's a savings of more than 60%. Plus, it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee.
Try it. You got nothing to lose.
Call or go online right now to get this special offer. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3 for only $39.95. Call now.
The Supreme Court says it will review the mediating border policy from the first Trump administration that was canceled under former President Biden. The policy limited the amount of undocumented migrants processed at border ports of entry. The Biden administration instead put in place a process of favoring migrant processing. A memo shows administration officials asking efforts be made so migrants aren't turned away at ports of entry. Even though the policy, the Trump policy that is no longer in place, the case to rescind it is still being pushed by immigration advocacy organization Alto Lado. The Trump administration is challenging Alto Lado because the case result does not restrict future immigration policy. Dozens of children have been saved as part of an FBI partnership called Operation Home for the Holidays. FBI Jacksonville announced that 122 children were located or recovered across Florida and 9 other states. They range from about 2 years old to 17 years old. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed the rescues on his X account as well. The FBI says some of these kids said they were experiencing various kinds of abuse and were exposed to other criminal activity. Operation Home for the Holidays was a U.S. Marshal-led initiative. Dozens are arrested in North Carolina. Agents took more than 80 illegal immigrants into custody in Charlotte on the first day of border enforcement operations. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the details, including a harrowing incident when someone allegedly launched a van at federal agents.
The Department of Homeland Security announced Saturday it was launching Operation Charlotte's Web, sending a surge of law enforcement resources to the city. DHS released a list of what it called the worst criminal illegal immigrants who it said had been released back onto North Carolina's streets because of sanctuary policies. Gregory Bavino, Commander-at-Large of the U.S. Border Patrol, documented several of the arrests on social media yesterday, which he said had risen to 81. Bavino quoted from the book Charlotte's Web when posting about the operation, writing, "Wherever the wind takes us, high, low, near, far, east, west, north, south, we take to the breeze, we go as we please." Bavino shared a video of arrests along with the post. Bavino also shared posts including pictures of some of the people the Trump administration had detained in Charlotte. One man who was arrested yesterday had an alleged history of repeated drunk driving incidents. Bavino wrote, "We arrested him, taking him off the streets of Charlotte, so he can't continue to ignore our laws and drive intoxicated on the same roads you and your loved ones are on." Another had charges for alleged hit and run and DUI. Yet another with a criminal history of arrests for aggravated assault, assault with a dangerous weapon, and DUI. In a separate incident, Homeland Security released a video of a U.S. citizen allegedly using a large van as a weapon, driving it at agents during an operation. Officials say he fled, prompting a dangerous high-speed chase through a densely populated area, and that he repeatedly tried to ram law enforcement vehicles before being boxed in. Agents say they found a firearm inside the vehicle after arresting the driver. DHS also pushed back on claims that a Hispanic man had been shot during another enforcement action. Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin posted a video of the man on a stretcher and said he had suffered a panic attack, was taken to a hospital, and then attempted to escape by climbing into ceiling tiles before being apprehended. Republican Congressman Mark Harris welcomed the federal surge, speaking on News Nation.
I think people recognize it's welcome. It will help bring crime down. There had been a surge of 200% of murders in uptown Charlotte specifically.
Harris warned that the stakes are high in Charlotte.
These are serious criminal illegal aliens that they are here to deal with. This is not a time to play games.
On the Democrat side, Representative Alma Adams said Charlotte's immigrant community is a proud part of the Queen City and that she will not stand by and watch her constituents be intimidated or harassed, adding that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. Border Patrol Commander Bavino responded, writing, "Representative Adams, perhaps you should learn the difference between an illegal alien and an immigrant." The granddaughter of Charlotte's Web author E.B. White criticized the use of the book's name in the operation, saying White believed in the rule of law, due process, and didn't condone what she called fear-mongering. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams stopped in Jerusalem over the weekend as part of an official visit to Israel. Israeli President Isaac Herzog today thanked Adams for his support during the war and commended his conduct as mayor. Here's Adams.
We want to clearly send the right message that 49% of New Yorkers made it clear that they don't embrace the philosophy of anti-Israel. 49% of New Yorkers. And so our city is more divided than it has ever been. But you must know that we still consider Israel as an ally and as a friend. And I'm here today as I leave office to state I would not be leaving my advocacy for Israel and for the Jewish people all over the globe.
The outgoing mayor was shown the tunnels underneath the Western Wall where archaeological digs are taking place. Adams called off his bid for re-election in September with his approval rating at a record low. The race was won by self-declared Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, who was vocal about his support in Palestinians in the Gaza conflict. A possible thaw in a recent feud. President Trump yesterday said he plans to meet with New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Trump says the pair will work something out.
The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
Trump has taken aim at Mamdani for months, calling him a communist. Trump predicted New York would be ruined if the Democratic Socialist was elected. He also threatened to pull federal money from the city over Mamdani's policies. In his election night victory speech, Mamdani said he wanted New York to show the country how to defeat the president. But the day after, the incoming mayor also said he was willing to work with anyone, including the president, if it could help New Yorkers. And Trump defended conservative commentator Tucker Carlson yesterday over his recent interview with right-wing activist Nick Fuentes.
We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Fuentes appeared to appreciate Trump's sentiment, posting, "Thank you, Mr. President," along with video of his interaction with reporters. Carlson had a sit-down on his podcast last month with Fuentes that touched off a very controversy among conservatives. Fuentes has been accused of making anti-Semitic statements. It's not the first time Trump has been asked about him. 3 years ago, he came to a dinner at Mar-a-Lago along with the rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. Trump at the time said he had not previously met Fuentes and knew nothing about him and didn't know he was coming with Ye. Tensions are increasing between the U.S. and Venezuela. The Trump administration is designating a Venezuelan cartel allegedly run by the country's president, a foreign terrorist organization. Here are the details.
Is about protecting America from foreign terrorists.
The Department of State has announced it will designate the Venezuelan group known as the Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the designation takes effect November 24th. The Trump administration alleges the organization is led by senior Venezuelan government figures, including President Nicolas Maduro, and involved in international cocaine smuggling. Maduro has denied these allegations. Rubio said Sunday the Cartel de los Soles is responsible for terrorist violence throughout the Western Hemisphere. The designation will expand federal authorities' ability to pursue the group. It makes it a federal crime for anyone in the U.S. to assist the cartel and allows federal officials to freeze any assets connected to it. Trump was asked yesterday if the U.S. government can target assets inside Venezuela.
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
The move comes after the Treasury Department earlier this year labeled the cartel a specially designated global terrorist. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent says Sunday's action further exposes the Maduro regime's facilitation of narco-terrorism. The announcement comes as U.S. forces continue a series of military strikes on vessels they say are involved in narcotics smuggling. This weekend, the military carried out its 21st such operation, bringing the total casualty count to 83 people. U.S. Southern Command said Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered Saturday's strike in the Eastern Pacific, which targeted a vessel linked to a designated terrorist organization. Southern Command said the boat was smuggling narcotics along a known trafficking route. The military said 3 people on board were killed. U.S. military activity against suspected drug traffickers has expanded across waters near Venezuela and Colombia. President Trump has come under criticism from both Democrats and Republicans for not seeking congressional approval for these strikes. He explained his decision yesterday.
I said, go to Congress and let them know we're not letting drugs come through Mexico. We're not letting them come through Venezuela. And let Congress know about it. We don't have to get their approval, but I think letting them know is good.
Senator Rand Paul and Congressman Thomas Massie, both Republicans, have described the strikes as an overreach of executive authority. Paul has described them as summary executions and extrajudicial killings. The Department of Justice has stated that military personnel involved in the strikes are not liable for prosecution.
We're turning now to an alleged gambling scheme in pro basketball. There are reports that the NBA has asked the Los Angeles Lakers and several other teams to turn over documents as part of its expanding investigation into illegal gambling. According to ESPN, league investigators have already collected phones from at least a dozen Lakers employees, including 2 staff members with close ties to LeBron James. The NBA says the requests are standard procedure and do not imply wrongdoing. The probe follows federal indictments that shocked the league, including charges against Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and former coach Damon Jones. Cases tied to the indictments involve the sharing of non-public injury information and rigged wagering schemes that federal prosecutors say netted hundreds of thousands of dollars. The NBA has signaled it may tighten injury reporting rules. 2 popular weight loss drugs will now cost less if you pay with cash instead of going through insurance. Novo Nordisk announced today that it's offering the first 2 monthly doses of Wegovy and Ozempic for $199. The discount applies to the lowest doses of the medications and expires at the end of March. Additional refills will drop to $349 a month from $499, also the lowest dosage. The drug maker has faced increased competition in the GLP-1 market as compounding pharmacies offer less expensive versions. It says the discounted drugs will be available at Costco, GoodRx, and Weight Watchers, as well as many retail pharmacies. Rival drug maker Eli Lilly is also lowering its prices for GLP-1 medications. Its discounted products will be available on Trump RX when it launches early next year. Veterans who lost education benefits for refusing a COVID-19 vaccine can once again have access to their GI Bill benefits. We have more after this break.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
President Trump says Republicans are working on legislation that will impose sanctions on any country doing business with Russia.
The Republicans are putting in legislation that very tough. It's sanctioning, et cetera, on any country doing business with Russia. They may add Iran to that, as you know. I suggested it. So any country that does business with Russia will be very severely sanctioned. We may add Iran to the formula, yeah.
The Kremlin said today it hopes another meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Trump can take place soon. It says both sides need to complete what it calls the necessary preparation. Russia says both sides agree that a summit requires deep preparation to be productive. Putin and Trump last met in August at a summit in Alaska focused on possible steps toward ending the war in Ukraine. Plans for a follow-up summit in Budapest were announced last month. President Trump later canceled it, saying the timing didn't feel right. An explosion damaged a Polish railway track en route to Ukraine over the weekend. Prime Minister Donald Tusk today called the blast an unprecedented act of sabotage. He said he would catch those responsible for an incident he said could have ended in tragedy. The blast follows a wave of arson, sabotage, and cyber attacks that has hit Poland and other European countries since the start of the war in Ukraine. Warsaw has, in the past, held Russia responsible, saying Poland has become one of Moscow's biggest targets due to its role as a hub for aid to Kyiv. Russia has repeatedly denied being responsible for acts of sabotage. Besides the 100 fighter jets, Ukraine is also said to receive French radars and 8 air defense systems, each with 6 launching systems. Zelensky said each one of those launching systems means that more Ukrainian lives will be saved. Today marks Zelensky's 9th visit to Paris since Russia's invasion over 3 years ago. His talks were meant to strengthen Ukraine's defense as the country enters another winter under Russia's bombardment of its energy infrastructure.
Most importantly, we're setting a direction. We will together increase the industrial and technological potential of Ukraine and France. This means not only defense, this is literally the strength in life. This literally means jobs for our people, development of companies, development of communities.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in France today signing a major weapons deal. Ukraine is set to receive 100 French fighter jets, among other things. This comes after weeks-long talks to see how France could provide more military support despite political and budgetary instability in Paris. Zelensky thanked France for its support and commented on the deal while in Paris earlier today. Japan moved today to damp down an escalating dispute with China over Taiwan. The dispute has prompted Beijing to urge civilians and citizens to halt travel to its East Asian neighbor. Here are the details.
The dispute erupted after Japan's newly elected Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, openly raised the possibility of a Japanese military response to a Chinese attack on Taiwan, a topic earlier administrations steered clear of to avoid provoking Beijing. Senior Japanese diplomat Masaki Kanai arrived in China on Monday to meet his counterpart Liu Jin-song in an attempt to soothe the tensions, according to Japanese media. Kanai is expected to stress that Takaichi's remarks do not mark a shift in Japan's security policy and urge China to avoid further damaging ties. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara on Monday said China's travel warning is, quote, incompatible with the broad direction of promoting a strategic, mutually beneficial relationship confirmed by the leaders. Tourism-linked Japanese shares tumbled as the diplomatic row deepened. Isitan Mitsukoshi, a department store operator with substantial ties to Chinese visitors, sank 10.7% and is poised for its biggest drop in more than a year. Tokyo Disneyland operator Oriental Land lost 5.9%, and Japan Airlines shed 4.4%. Chinese companies with exposure to the Japanese market also suffered, with shares of software maker Linkage falling 3%. Beijing's travel boycott of Japan could result in an economic loss of about $14 billion annually, reducing the nation's real GDP by 0.36%, according to Nomura Research Institute's chief economist.
President Trump's Gaza proposal faces a critical test today in the United Nations. The Security Council is scheduled to vote on a U.S.-backed resolution aimed at turning Gaza's fragile ceasefire into a longer-term peace plan. The vote comes as violence still periodically flares between Israel and Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected parts of the plan, specifically language pointing toward a future Palestinian state, while Hamas has also warned against the proposal. The draft needs 9 votes to pass, but China or Russia could veto it. The U.S. plan would launch a temporary board of peace chaired by President Trump. It would also deploy an international stabilization force to eventually replace Israeli troops in Gaza. Several Arab nations publicly supported the proposal, but Russia has introduced a competing resolution with stronger statehood language. New footage shows a U.S.-led command center in southern Israel overseeing President Trump's plan to end the Gaza war. The Civil Military Coordination Center, or CMCC, is staffed by soldiers and civilians from the U.S., Israel, and several other countries. Britain, Germany, France, Canada, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates are among the nations also present. The center started operating last month after a ceasefire came into effect. The CMCC is tasked with monitoring the ceasefire, as well as helping to increase the delivery of aid into Gaza. The German government said it's resuming exports of military equipment to Israel. Germany is the second largest exporter of arms to Israel after the United States announced a suspension of some arms exports to Israel in August amid popular pressure over the war. The decision affected weapons and systems that could be used in Gaza, but not others deemed necessary for Israel to defend itself from external attacks. A spokesperson said the restrictions will be lifted from November 24th. Chile's presidential election is heading to a tense runoff. A right-leaning veteran politician now holds the advantage as he faces off against a member of the Chilean Communist Party representing the incumbent government. Here's an update.
Governing coalition candidate Yanet Jara held a narrow lead over rival Jose Antonio Cast in Chile's presidential election on Sunday. While Cast lagged behind with 24% of the vote versus Jara's 27%, he is still favored to clinch a runoff victory next month. Analysts expect supporters of other right-wing parties to back him in a decisive vote, and he declared victory on Sunday, despite the first-round defeat.
Today, it became clear that the opposition defeated a failed government, a government that did not know how to lead the country. The only real victory, the only victory that will make us celebrate, is when we defeat organized crime and drug trafficking. The election on December 14th is not just any election. It will be the most important election of our generation.
The candidate has previously proposed building a border wall with trenches, expelling all undocumented migrants, and deploying the military to high-crime neighborhoods. Meantime, as Hara's supporters celebrated her advance to the runoffs, she vowed to strengthen immigration controls and pursue organized crime.
The need to move toward more effective immigration control is to strengthen public safety, and that is why together we are going to strengthen the police and preventive measures. We are going to insist that Chile lift banking secrecy and follow the dirty money trail.
Hara was the former labor minister under current president Gabriel Boric. She has downplayed her Communist Party ties and proposed increasing the minimum wage while boosting funding for social welfare and healthcare. Hara has also advocated for stronger gun controls, technological surveillance on the border, and lifting banking secrecy laws to pursue organized crime groups. The December 14 runoff will pit the two ideological extremes against each other, with many voters signaling that they are prioritizing crime and immigration over progressive reforms that defined the last election. A rightward tilt would mirror recent leftist defeats across Latin America and encourage right-wing candidates in Colombia, Peru, and Brazil, where security fears also loom as a key issue.
A luxury heist today in central Rome. 3 masked men smashed a car through the glass entrance of a Louis Vuitton storage facility. Police said they stole high-end leather goods before fleeing. The alarm was triggered at around 1:30 a.m. after the thieves used the vehicle as a battering ram to break into the premises. They took a side street less monitored than the luxury shopping avenue nearby. Once inside, the group quickly grabbed bags and other merchandise. Investigators said the operation appeared carefully planned. The value of the stolen goods has not yet been determined. A Bangladesh court has sentenced its ousted prime minister to death for crimes against humanity. Here's what we've learned so far.
We have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
A verdict of death for Bangladesh's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Monday, concluding a months-long trial that found her guilty of ordering a deadly crackdown on a student-led uprising last year. Hasina was not present in court and has been living in exile in New Delhi. It's the most dramatic legal action against a former Bangladeshi leader since independence in 1971. Prosecutors had said that they had uncovered evidence of her direct command to use lethal force to suppress the student-led uprising. A United Nations report said up to 1,400 people may have been killed during the protests between July and August last year, with thousands more injured. 78-year-old Hasina was given a life sentence under charges for crimes against humanity and the death sentence for the killings. In response, Hasina said the ruling has come from a, quote, rigged tribunal presided over by an unelected government. Her defence argued that the charges were baseless and politically motivated. Bangladesh's Domestic War Crimes Court sentenced her amid tight security ahead of parliamentary elections expected in February, in which Hasina's Awami League party has been barred from contesting. Before the verdict, protesters swarmed the estate of her father's home in a standoff with police. Bangladesh has been tense ahead of the ruling. Over the past few days, there have been 30 crude bomb explosions and dozens of vehicles have been torched. Bangladesh has been governed by an interim administration, headed by a Nobel Peace Laureate since Hasina fled. Hasina's son and advisor, Sajib Wazid, told Reuters on the eve of the verdict that they would not appeal the verdict unless a democratically elected government took office with the Awami League's participation.
Thousands of veterans could have access to education benefits again. This applies to veterans who were discharged under the Biden administration for refusing COVID-19 vaccines. The Department of Veteran Affairs announced today those veterans may regain eligibility to the GI Bill. President Trump signed an executive order in January to have these benefits reinstated. There were about 8,000 service members impacted. About half were characterized as less than fully honorable. Now veterans may request a review of their discharge, and once their discharge is upgraded to fully honorable, they can submit education benefits claims to the VA. Countries around the world are gearing up for Christmas with bright, colorful lights and other festive displays. However, there are some local rules and regulations that drivers will need to follow if they want to stay off Santa's naughty list. We have more news after a break.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options. Only at selectspecs.com.
What are toxins? How do they get into our bodies? We are constantly being exposed to toxins in our environment. I've had detox protocol programs in my clinic more than 20 years, helping countless people. MixFix is a custom formulated, full-spectrum organic detox product to achieve better health and overall function. Detoxifying your body 3 to 4 times per year may be the single most important thing you can do. Just scan the QR code and detox your body today.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
President Trump is now holding a meeting of the FIFA World Cup 2026 task force at the White House right now. Let's take a look.
Fantastic job, as well as Representative Darren LaHood. Thank you all very much. Hi, Darren. This past summer, the United States hosted the 2025 FIFA Cup World Cup, Club World Cup, and it was great. I actually went to a match, and it was amazing. That was a big success, too, wasn't it? It was sort of like a preview of what's to come. And now we're getting ready for an even bigger event next year as we host the official 2026 FIFA World Cup. That's the big one. The World Cup tournament. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, even for our country, because frankly, you know, this goes to countries, everybody wants it. I guess it's going all over the world. Do you know who's getting it the next time around? Who's getting it? Has that been selected?
The next one will be Morocco, Spain, and Portugal.
That's good.
With 3 matches at the beginning in South America, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And the one after will be Saudi Arabia in 2034.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, we have the king coming, Crown Prince is coming tomorrow. This will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to showcase the greatness of American world-class athletic competition as we celebrate our nation's 250th year. The World Cup will also be an incredibly significant economic opportunity for countless American workers and businesses. It's expected to drive more than $30 billion, Johnny. I don't know about that. That sounds like a lot of money.
No, that's true.
Are you sure?
100%.
How much does the country get out of that?
30 billion.
20%? No, do we get like a percentage of the gross or anything?
That's for negotiation.
That's right. And it's going to create nearly 200,000 jobs for America. Since the creation of the White House FIFA Task Force earlier this year, Secretary Rubio's team at the State Department has worked tirelessly with the Department of Homeland Security to ensure that soccer fans from all around the world are properly vetted and able to come to the United States next summer easily. Before I took office, it would often take a year to get a travel visa, but because of the administration's hard work, now in more than 80% of the world, think of that, the wait time for a visa is 60 days or less. For those who intend to join us for the World Cup, I strongly encourage you to apply right away. And I want to thank FIFA Task Force and Secretary Rubio for the great job. Marco's doing a fantastic job in many ways, too. So I want to just thank you all for a great job. Marco, you're doing a great job. Beyond even this, we're also creating what we're calling the FIFA Prioritized Appointment Scheduling System. That's a hard one for most people to remember, but it's there nevertheless. And this will allow World Cup ticket holders with long wait times to opt with FIFA for a prioritized interview. And I've directed my administration to do everything within the power to make the 2026 World Cup an unprecedented success. I think it's going to be the greatest. And we are setting records on ticket sales. Nobody's ever really, and FIFA's never, you know, if you look at the numbers, nobody's ever seen anything like the kind of numbers we're doing. The early ticket sales are through the roof, and much of it is even sold out. So congratulations, Johnny. And I'd like to ask Johnny to say a few words. He's really done an incredible job. He's got unbelievable spirit and personality and talent and intelligence, I always like to say, because it's all a part of it. But the job you've done is based on what's happening, unprecedented. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you very much. I would like to start really by thanking you, Mr. President, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Noem, Andrew, your entire team for approving and making this very important announcement today. The FIFA Pass is being announced, the prioritized appointment scheduling system. That's the way people will remember it. So if you have a ticket for the World Cup, you can have a prioritized appointment to get your visa, because we said it the very first time we met, Mr. President, America welcomes the world. America will welcome the world here next year. We will have between 6 and 7 million tickets sold for the matches. We will have between 5 and 10 million people coming to America from all over the world to enjoy the World Cup. And with this FIFA Pass, we can make sure that those who buy a ticket that are legitimate football fans or soccer fans, they can come and attend the World Cup in the best conditions, starting from getting their visa and then coming, of course, in the country to enjoy. You mentioned the economic impact, the 30 billion, 200,000 jobs, and this is just for the World Cup, and we will build on that to make soccer even greater here. You are the #1 country in the world, the United States of America, Mr. President. You have to be the #1 country as well in the #1 sport in the world. So we have to work for that, and we will do that, and the World Cup will be very, very significant in this respect. So big thank you to you, to the White House Task Force, to everyone involved, and we are celebrating next year not just the 250 years, but also the greatest and most inclusive World Cup ever. We'll have 6 billion people watching. We have the draw coming up on the 5th of December here at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. 1 billion people watching the draw. to find out who plays whom and where. We have 32 teams already qualified. Before or by tomorrow night, we'll have 42 out of 48 qualified. So a quarter of the world will be here, and we are looking very much forward. So thanks for the support, thanks for the great work, and always happy to be here at home, if I can say that.
You are home. We are. There's your beautiful trophy right there.
Yeah.
You are. And a big part of it, too. Marco, would you say a few words?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, for getting the games, because this happened in your first term when the Cup came here, and it's a major undertaking. So we've deployed over 400 additional consular officers around the world to deal with that, in some cases doubling the size of the consular presence in our embassies in certain countries. And the good news now is that about 80% of the world you can get an appointment within 60 days. It used to take, half a year or longer, and now sometimes it took, now you can get it in less than 2 months, where in places it took over a year. In places, for example, like Brazil and Argentina, it took over a year to get an appointment. Now you can get it in less than 2 months. So our advice to everybody is, if you have a ticket for any of the games, you need to apply if you haven't done so as soon as possible. Don't wait till the last minute. Your ticket is not a visa. It doesn't guarantee admission to the U.S. It guarantees you an expedited appointment. You're still going to go through the same vetting. We're going to do the same vetting as anybody else would get. The only difference here is we're moving them up in the queue. We're moving them up faster. But my advice to everyone that's watching around the world is, if you intend to come to the games, you have to have a ticket. You need to apply. Apply as soon as possible. You're going to get your interview within, 6 to 8 weeks, and move forward from there. Don't wait till the last minute to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Congressman, would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, Mr. President, none of this would have happened without your leadership securing this during your first term. I tell my colleagues all the time, this will be the largest sporting event in the history of the world. We expand from 32 to 48 teams for the first time ever. We're doing it with Mexico and Canada, but obviously the 11 host cities will be here in the United States, and it's going to have a $30 billion impact economically in this country. And so it has been a team effort by everybody, but I also want to thank President Infantino and obviously you, Mr. President, and your entire team, Andrew and Nick and everybody. It is going to be an unbelievable sporting event next summer.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Andrew, would you like to say something?
Sure. I think
we'll have somebody much more important.
much more important. And honestly, without her work, without Secretary of State Rubio's work in the State Department, this would not happen. Without your leadership and your vision, this would not have happened. I think 2 key points. One, the Secretary of State already highlighted. This is a welcoming message to the world without going around the safety and security procedures. It's so key to make sure that this World Cup is safe and secure, and the White House Task Force is working every day to make sure that's the case. And also, as Congressman LaHood said, the economic benefits for American businesses, both small and large, from a $30 billion event like this. So really, thanks to all the White House Task Force members, from Secretary Rubio to Secretary Noem, the 2 notice of funding opportunities that went out to the cities and states last month were really key from the safety and security perspective, to Deputy Chief of Staff Luna, who is integral in this whole process, to the White House Task Force members that are standing in the back of the room today and that couldn't be here. Without your hard work, this would not have happened, and I really can't thank you enough for really the best team I've ever been a part of. And also to FIFA, to the President Gianni Infantino, my good friend Carlos Cordiero, your desire to make this World Cup the best yet, it's contagious. Every single day I come in and think, what can we do to make this even better? And Mr. President, your vision more than anything. I think it takes a unique visionary to be able to go and see a sporting event and realize that this can be one of the greatest cultural events in world history. And I think there are very few people, aside from the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, that can do that undertaking. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Christy,
well, Mr. President, thank you for Andrew. Thank you for making him the head of our FIFA task force. He's fantastic. And Nick has been a rock star in facilitating all of our meetings, getting everybody together, and making sure that we're prepared to host this event. And it's going to be the world's largest sporting event ever hosted, and it's happening under your leadership. So every department has been working, but the Department of Homeland Security is working on making sure people can travel here safely. They know that they're welcome to the United States, that each of these events will be cooperative events with our cities to make sure that security needs are met. We put out over $600 million worth of grants to the 11 host cities, that they'll have the advantage to partner on technologies and screening technologies, drone technology, counter UAS as well will be implemented. So we'll be prepared to host it safely, but also with Marco's leadership at the State Department, making sure that people that come in on these tourist visas are coming in thoroughly vetted, just like anyone who would travel here, and they would come and enjoy our country, and then they would go home and go home in a timely manner. So we're excited about that, and we're excited to partner with you, Mr. President, on creating memories for people around the world that will make them not just fall in love with the United States, but also fall in love with the sport of soccer.
Well, thank you. How many games are there, Johnny, total?
Total 104 games, meaning 104 Super Bowls in 1 month. This is the magnitude of the event.
You know, when you think
It is. It's incredible.
it's going to be the biggest sporting event we've ever had. It's like having 104, or even if you cut it in half, 50, 60 Super Bowls, right? That's okay too. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, can you just take us through this FIFA Pass idea that you guys are talking about here? How exactly is it going to work for ticket holders to this big event that the United States is hosting?
I'll let my guys do that because they can do it much better. And either one of you two, Nick, would you like to talk about it?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, without your leadership, this would not happen. And we came in 10 months. We have a system that's going to welcome the world. The greatest host in the history of the world is going to host the world here. Basically, this system allows folks with a FIFA ticket purchased through FIFA to go through the FIFA portal. That is then going to get prioritized with the State Department, so that those appointments are going to be had before existing appointments, so that people, when they buy tickets, they have confidence that they're going to be able to come to the games and spend their money and travel this country and do all the things that they want to do and enjoy the game. So it's an incredible vision that the president executed here. Within 10 months, we started with really not that much. And so this whole team here, with the president's guidance, has made this possible. It's going to be the greatest games in the history of the world.
Okay, do you have that?
Yes,
yes. Not too complicated. Daniel, please. Daniel?
Mr. President, you're talking about the economic impact of this. Billions and billions of dollars. This builds on the framework and the groundwork that you've built already up for a major year in 2026. Deregulation, energy independence, tax cuts, historic amounts of private sector investments. What do you envision for the 2026 economy when this event comes to town next year, too, on top of everything else?
Yeah, it's just a huge economic boon to this. You know, we had a little shutdown that was caused by the Democrats, and this will make up for it many times over, so that's good. But I think it's the importance of the event all over the world. The world is watching, and it really is. It's like having, you know, many Super Bowls, actually. Each game is almost a Super Bowl. Some of them are, I guess you could say, bigger than Super Bowls. I guess when you get to the finals, it's of that level or more. Much more. Worldwide, I think it's got to be more. So that's great. You know, when Johnny and I made the deal, I never thought I was going to be president because I was supposed to be retired by that time. And I got a little lucky, so I'm very honored to have it. And we have the Olympics coming too. That'll be great. And the 250 is going to be right out on the lawn. You're going to have a UFC event with Dana White and his people. He's going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled. I was talking to Dana White the other day, and they're going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled, Johnny. So you'll be sitting up there with me, Darren. We'll be watching it. So right opposite the front door of the White House. It's going to be on June 14th. So it's really going to be an amazing period of time. But this is something very, very special. World Cup. All my life I've heard about it. Yep.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with trade in a country, and I straightened it out. But I blew my stack at these people.
Well, it sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela? You suggested...
Is there what?
It sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela?
I thought you said there was a polyp, and I said, I don't want to hear that.
You suggested you've made a decision about what you want to do next about Venezuela. I understand you don't want to tip your hand, but is there anything you're ready to rule out at this point? Are you ruling out U.S. troops on the ground?
No, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. We just have to take care of Venezuela. They dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country from prisons. Nobody knows better than this young lady right here. She's done an incredible job with Tom Homan and all of your people. It's amazing. You know, we have a tight border right now. Nobody comes in. But we had millions of people pouring through. A year ago, we had millions of people pouring through our border. and many of them came from Venezuela, including Tren de Aragua, the gang. And I guess what I'm hearing, Christy, is that's as bad a gang as there is anywhere in the world.
It's the worst. Absolutely,
Is that
sir. Absolutely, they are the worst.
I mean, they're worse than MS-13.
They're killers. They massacre people. They cut them up into pieces and they bury them in their communities where they grew up. They're horrible people.
And we had a lot of them, and many of them, most of them, pretty soon, most of them are going to be out. But they sent them in like we're a dumping ground. So I'm not in love with the people running Venezuela. I love Venezuela. I love the people of Venezuela. But what they've done to this country, and I really say this, what Biden and the Democrats have done to this country can never, ever be forgotten.
You suggested Maduro wants to talk. Are you prepared to speak with him directly? Would you commit to doing that before you ordered strikes?
Yeah, I probably would talk to him. Yeah, I talk to everybody.
Mr. President,
go ahead,
follow up on Garrett. Was that what you were
Please,
referring
go
to?
ahead.
Was that India?
Rebecca's up with Blaze News. So, in a recent interview, you had made some remarks about H-1B visas. You said about H-1B visas.
Yeah.
You said that there were certain talents that Americans needed to outsource to foreign workers. Could you clarify?
Until they learn that, yeah. Like, for instance, if you're going to be making chips, we don't make chips too much here anymore, but we are going to be in a period of a year. We're going to have a big portion of the chip market. But we have to train our people how to make chips because we didn't do it. We used to do it, and then foolishly we lost that business to Taiwan. Very, very foolishly, because if they had a president that thought like I did, they would not have let that happen. But it's all coming back. I think we're going to have within a few years, we're going, and not because of the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act was a disaster for this country. We gave away billions of dollars to other countries and other locations and companies, and all they did was rob our money. But because of tariffs, the chips are coming back. Chip makers are all coming back. And I think within a very short period of time, we're going to have maybe even the majority of the chip making in the world will be right in the United States, where it should have been all along. But because we had people that didn't believe in tariffs, they believed in them, but they didn't know how to use them, we would have had nobody leaving our country right now. And instead, you have almost 100% of the chips are made in Taiwan. It's so disgraceful. The good news is it's all coming back. Yeah, please.
Mr. President,
The gentleman in the back.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to just follow up on Venezuela. In these talks with Maduro, is there anything that he could say or do that would allow you to feel like he could stay with your support? Is there anything that he could say that you would be, okay, you can stay?
It's hard to say that. You know, the question's a little bit tricky. I don't think it was meant to be tricky. It's just that, look, he's done tremendous damage to our country, primarily because of drugs, but really because we have that problem with other countries too. But more than any other country, the release of prisoners into our country has been a disaster. He's emptied his jails. Others have done that also. He has not been good to the United States. So we'll see what happens. At a certain period of time, I'll be talking to him.
Mr. President, can I just follow up? You mentioned your voice and you were shouting about trade. Which country in particular upset you? Was it India?
No, a country wanted to try and renegotiate the terms of their trade deal, and I wasn't happy about it.
Well, which country was it? People want to know.
Why would I say that to you? Why would I can't believe it.
Mr. President, on the World Cup, if you would, Seattle and the World Cup. The new mayor-elect of Seattle is a Democratic Socialist. Seattle has
or beyond. I watched her.
Right, Seattle has
that's more than socialism.
Right, Seattle has 6 World Cup games. How close are you going to be watching that city with the crime in that city?
Well, if we think, and I'll have to speak to Johnny about this, but if we think that the mayor of L.A. is incompetent, everybody knows that. You know that I was there, I guess, 2 years ago, and we got all the federal permits taken care of, far more complex than the state permits and the city permits. And Lee Zeldin, who's a superstar, got everything taken care of. The toughest part, you know, having to do with the fires, that should have never happened. If they let the water come in, it wouldn't have happened, right? Do you know that people aren't building their houses yet? I mean, can you imagine that? And if we didn't go in early on, Christy, I think we can say it. Well, the head of their police department said it. They were unable to handle. You would have had, not only did you have the fires, but you would have had total insurrection in Los Angeles. And if we didn't go in, And the head of, the gentleman, he said it, and he said it strongly. He said we could not have done it without the federal government. We did a great job. If we think there's going to be a sign of any trouble, I would ask Johnny to move that to a different city. We have a lot of cities that would love to have it number one, and we'll do it very safely. So if we think there's a problem in Seattle where you have a very, very liberal/communist mayor, I would say, it's certainly beyond just liberal. I watched her over the weekend. Wow, that's another beauty we got there. But if we think there's going to be a problem, we'll, Johnny, can I say we will move? I don't think you're going to have this problem, but we're going to move the event to someplace where it's going to be appreciated and safe.
Yeah, well, I think safety and security is the #1 priority for a successful World Cup. We can see today that people have trust in the United States when we see at the ticket sales, we sold, record-breaking figures of tickets, almost 2 million already sold out of 2 million that we have been selling. This is because people, they know that they will be coming here and they will experience a safe and secure World Cup. This is the responsibility, of course, of the government, of Secretary Norm, of everyone. And obviously, we will discuss. We are working together. We have a task force for this, and we must ensure that all fans coming from abroad or being here, they can experience a celebration of coming together of the sport, and this goes only with 100% safety.
We are communicating with all these mayors about what their responsibilities are. They know the safety and security of these events is their #1 responsibility, and we'll be there. The president's always there to keep Americans safe, but he also makes sure the people that know their responsibilities and that they're prepared to host these events and do so in a safe manner.
Is there a timeline, if that would happen?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There was some news this morning from an Axios report that Senator Ted Cruz was laying the groundwork for a potential 2028 presidential run. Could I get your reaction to, could you see yourself supporting Senator
Well, he's a friend of mine. I haven't spoken to him about it. It's a little early. It's 3¼ years. It's a long time. But he's a very good guy. He's a very good friend of mine. You remember we had quite a campaign against Ted, and it worked out quite nicely. Let's see, where are we? Oh, we're in the old one. But I'm not that surprised to hear that.
Mr. President, on the tariff exemptions, you had some recently on a variety of different goods. I'm wondering, are you ruling out going forward no more exemptions on products? You're mentioning a disagreement you had earlier.
We've taken in hundreds of millions of dollars in tariff money. We're going to be issuing dividends later on, somewhere prior to, probably in the middle of next year, a little bit later than that, of thousands of dollars for individuals of moderate income, middle income. We're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money from tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, this nation would be in serious trouble. And we've taken in tremendous amounts of money. And you know what's more important than that? We've protected our businesses from being raided like we did with the chip business. Now we're bringing them all back. But we had 100% of the chip industry. And then they left. They went mostly to Taiwan and South Korea, but mostly Taiwan. And they have almost 100%. And we're going to have, within a short period of time, a big percentage of the chip business are coming back because of tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs, because the tariffs will be very steep if they don't come back, and they've committed to come back. As you probably heard, Apple is now up to $700 billion. We have NVIDIA at $600 billion. We have tremendous amounts of money pouring in. Our country has become amazing again and really, really rich again. I will say this. We have a decision we're waiting for. It's a very big decision. The numbers that we've taken in, if you talk about investments, is trillions, not with a B, not with an M, millions, but trillions of dollars. I can't imagine having to give that money back on something that we're allowed to do. And the ones that are fighting us are countries, largely. They're back in countries that have been ripping us off for years, using tariffs to rip us off. and now we're able to defend ourselves. It really is a matter of national security, because economic security is national security. So I think you're going to see another thing happening. I think you'll see food prices. They've come down very substantially since Biden. But I think you're going to see food prices coming down very substantially.
Saudi Arabia, tomorrow you're hosting Saudi Arabia. Are you planning to sell F-35s to Saudi Arabia? And also, are you looking at doing a similar security agreement like you did with Qatar?
Yeah, no, I am planning on doing that, yeah.
You're gonna
They
sell
want to buy.
F-35s?
They've been a great ally. They've got to like us very much. Look at the Iran situation, what we did in terms of obliterating, we obliterated their nuclear capability. Yeah, I will say that we will be doing that. We'll be selling F-35s. Yeah.
Mr. President, you clarified something that you posted on Truth Social last night. You urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to. Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want is for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars, and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. We've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. With Kennedy, we gave everything, and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything, and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages. 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that many of the people some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. They cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time. Yeah,
Mr. President, on affordability,
the shutdown is now over, and administration officials had said when the shutdown ends, they'll reevaluate the farmer relief. Now we have the deal with China. So is the administration still looking to dish out farmer relief now that the government is back open?
Yeah, we want to. I'm always going to help our farmers.
So are you still looking to do
I would
relief?
do that, yeah. If they need relief, we'll be there for them. We're going to always be for our farmers.
So what are you waiting
Yeah,
for?
please, in the back.
Mr. President, just speaking of the economic impacts of FIFA and possibly moving to another city, some games if you feel there's crime, is there like a timeline that you would do that? Because these cities, there's sponsorships, there's economic impacts for these communities.
Sure.
Is there
Well, the governors are going to have to behave. The mayors are going to have to behave. In the case of California, you have a problem. You have high crime, and you have a place that just suffered great fires and everything else, and they didn't do a very good job. And if we didn't go in from the crime standpoint, you would have had a disaster. It was not going to be handled properly. It wasn't able to be. The head of the police said as I said, without the federal government, they could not have done it. So here's the story. I love Los Angeles. If they want help during this, I would love to send in National Guard or whoever's necessary to help them. I want it to be great. I'd love it to be in Los Angeles. I love the place. It's a natural for Los Angeles. If we think there's going to be crime, if we are obstructed by the governor, and maybe he won't obstruct, maybe it'll be great. But I'd love him for him to call and say, you know, we'd like to have some extra help. Because if there's even a hint of a problem, we want to get in there before the problem occurs. We want to make it totally safe for Johnny and FIFA and all of the great people that are going to be there. And I think that's going to happen. I would be honored to help California if they're going to have a problem. And if they think they're going to have a problem, they should say so. We can be in there in 24 hours notice and do a great job.
But does that mean by the year, by the end of the year, by the end of the first quarter?
Well, I think this: if they would tell us now, they're not going to have a problem, because if we go in, they don't have a problem. Look at D.C. There's no crime in D.C. anymore, and D.C. was a mess. If they want us to go in, I'd like them to tell us right now. But if we go in, there will be no problem. There will be no crime.
What's the message then to like local businesses who are considering sponsoring this?
Tell your governor to ask for federal help. We'd love to help them.
Mr. President, are you planning on also potentially launching strikes in Mexico or putting American troops or American personnel into Mexico to deal with it?
Would I launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is... Look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there. If we had to, would we do there what we've done to the waterways? You know, there's almost no drugs coming in through our waterways anymore. Isn't it down like 85%?
It is, sir.
I don't know who the 15% would be.
Yep.
It wouldn't be you.
No, that's for sure.
No, I think it's been...
Tons and tons of
you would
drugs.
say that's a big signal.
Absolutely.
We have almost no drugs coming into our country by the sea, by, you know, the waterways. And you know why, okay? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Would I do that on the land cars? I would absolutely. Look, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. Not to mention the destruction of families. These families are decimated forever. The mother, the father, the children, they never recover really from it. You know, when you lose somebody, like the way they live, if you lose them, but the way they die is horrible.
Is it something?
So when we knock out a boat and we save 25,000 lives, that's great. Now, do I feel the same way about the corridors that they use? We know every one of them. We have every one of those corridors under major surveillance. We have nobody coming in through our southern border. But we know exactly how they get their things here, how they get the drugs here, fentanyl, cocaine. Colombia has cocaine factories where they make cocaine. Would I knock out those factories? I would be proud to do it personally. I didn't say I'm doing it, but I would be proud to do it because we're going to save millions of lives by doing it.
Would you only do it with Mexico's permission, though?
I wouldn't answer that question. I've been speaking to Mexico. They know how I stand. We're losing hundreds of thousands of people to drugs. So now we've stopped the waterways, but we know every route. We know every route. We know the addresses of every drug lord. We know their address. We know their front door. We know everything about every one of them. They're killing our people. That's like a war. Would I do it? I'd be proud to. I'd probably go into Congress and say, hey, and you know what? The Democrats and the Republicans would both agree, unless they're crazy. And they are a little crazy on the Democrat side. But we have lost hundreds of thousands of people a year, death. And that's not talking about family destruction, that's talking about death. And much of it comes through Mexico. So let me just put it this way. I am not happy with Mexico, okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Thank you guys for Thank you, Press.
And that was President Trump at the White House in a meeting with the FIFA task force and saying that it's going to be a great World Cup and it's going to be a safe one, saying that the economic impact will be huge as well. $30 billion, 200,000 jobs created, and answering questions from reporters as well. Some asking about Venezuela. President Trump ruled out or rather didn't rule out U.S. troops on the ground. Okay, next, War Secretary Pete Hegseth launched a campaign called Operation Southern Spear, targeting narco-terrorists in South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Joining us to discuss is Emmanuel Rican, a Venezuelan lawyer and writer and the CEO of Regional Renaissance Consulting. So, Emmanuel, thank you for staying with us here. Can you talk?
Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Can you talk to us about the scale of force relative to the stated mission here? Because the total U.S. personnel in Latin America is approximately 15,000. This is the largest in the region in decades, and with the largest aircraft carrier in the world. So can you talk to us about that? Why deploy so many troops?
Well, I think that the President Trump understands that there's need to be a regime change in Venezuela because Nicolas Maduro has turned the region into a mess. I mean, he's the biggest threat to the United States in every reason. I mean, he's trafficking drugs, he's harboring terrorist groups from the Middle East in Venezuela, and he's also exporting criminals to the United States. So Nicolas Maduro is trying right now to negotiate with the Trump administration, saying that he will give oil license and all the stuff. But really, President Trump have next to him Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he understands quite well what is going on in Venezuela. And he knows that while Maduro stays in power, there's not going to be security for the United States.
So, Emmanuel, I understand you have a law background. So can I ask you this question then? Do U.S. strikes on suspected drug boats violate international law? Because some are questioning whether the killings at sea are considered extrajudicial executions.
Well, I mean, the Trump administration has designated these groups as terrorist foreign groups. Actually, yesterday, the Secretary of State designated Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist organization. So they are trafficking drugs to the United States. They are killing hundreds of thousands of people every year. It's more than the double of the people that they kill in all the Vietnam War. So, I mean, this is a biggest threat to the United States.
Okay, so can you address some of the reactions from countries so far? Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro mobilizing 200,000 troops and placed the country on maximum alert, right? Saying the U.S. actions are an act of aggression. The U.K. has reportedly suspended intelligence with the U.S. over concerns of the legality of the strike. So what are your reactions to that?
I mean, those numbers are inflated. I mean, there's no way that Nicolas Maduro has that amount of personnel training right now. I mean, what is happening in Venezuela is that the Maduro regime has established that all the mayors and generals in the military of Venezuela has become like drug lords. And that is not the same for all the people, I mean, all the soldiers in the forces. So while all the people in the military, in the high ranks, are getting rich with narco trafficking and gold mining and all the stuff, the people, I mean, the other soldiers are having a bad time, they don't have like money to eat and all those stuff. So really, Maduro doesn't have all the support. It has the support of criminal groups that are profiting from this catastrophe, but it's not going to last. And the people is not going to stand with Nicolas Maduro. I mean, 90% of the Venezuelans reject this regime, so he doesn't really have a support in the Venezuelan people.
So, Emmanuel, as we heard from the press conference earlier, reporters were asking about President Trump, about U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, and it appears that President Trump did not rule that out. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that the President Trump, I mean, yesterday they said that they were going to designate the Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist foreign group on November 24. I think that the President Trump has given an ultimatum to Maduro and his cronies and saying you got 7 days to pack up and going out, or maybe we're going to get in. I mean, that's what I can understand about what President Trump is doing.
How much drugs really are coming into the U.S. from these regions?
I mean, from Venezuela, I mean, Venezuela is not the place where all the drugs are being like cropped. Venezuela is the place where they are distributing the drugs. So I will say that approximately since report from the FBI of 2021, it's like between 20% or 25% of the drugs that are coming to the United States. I mean, all the drugs that are coming from Colombia and Bolivia and Peru are crossing through Venezuela and going up to the United States.
Okay, Emmanuel, final question. Could Operation Southern Spear play a role in deterring future threats against the United States?
100%. But I mean, as